Christine, how much does it hurt the WNBA when Caitlin Clark is out?
It is devastating to the WNBA when Caitlin Clark is out.
Imagine walking into a professional basketball game and seeing only 200 people scattered around the arena. That's not a preseason scrimmage. That was the Chicago Sky versus the New York Liberty.
In terms of the way the commissioner, Kathy Engelbert, who I've known and I like, the way she has trouble talking about Caitlin Clark, or if she's asked about Caitlin, then she will say, well, Caitlin and Angel. Well, she wasn't asked about Angel. She was asked about Caitlin. This incredible inability to deal with the facts and to state the obvious. It is astounding to me how Kathy Engelbert doesn't come out after the Marina Mabry hit and say, that's unacceptable, the refs got it wrong. Okay, should have been kicked out then, you weren't, but now I'm gonna kick you out, you're suspended for another game or two. That's just unacceptable behavior for someone who's so important to the league or to any player, right? They can't do that. They seem paralyzed.
And when the WNBA commissioner saw the empty stands, she stormed out in disbelief. But here's the real shocker. This isn't just about one embarrassing game. It's a symptom of a league on the brink of collapse. Because without Caitlin Clark on the floor, the WNBA isn't just losing games, it's losing millions of dollars sponsors and even its credibility.
This news is alarming for the league, and it's alarming for the league because this is such a crucial year for the WNBA. At the end of this season, the WNBA will go into CBA negotiations. If negotiations go well, then every single player in the WNBA has a much better chance of making so much more in their next contract. And if you guys were watching my videos during the off season, I was so much more optimistic going into this year because we had so much drama and the media, I felt like, mishandled so many things with the WNBA last season, and specifically with Caitlin Clark and her fan base.
So how did the league end up here? And is this the final warning sign that women's basketball is headed toward disaster? The walkout moment might sound dramatic, but it was really just the tip of the iceberg. What happened at Sky versus Liberty, barely 200 fans in the seats, is a visual reminder of a much bigger crisis. Because when Caitlin Clark isn't on the court, the WNBA simply cannot hold an audience. Let's break this down. When Clark was sidelined with a quad injury in May, and then again with a groin injury, the numbers told the story loud and clear. Nationally televised WNBA viewership dropped by more than 55%. That's not just the Indiana Fever, that's the entire league.
And that's one thing when you start thinking about how many people stopped watching when Caitlin Clark got injured. A lot of people stopped watching because they are boycotting the WNBA. They don't want to give viewership to any other teams or any other players, whether they like other players on the team or not, because of how the media and the league itself has handled Caitlin Clark and how they have treated her fans.
1 week, you've got nearly 2 million people tuning in. The next week, with Clark out, you've got fewer than 850,000. That kind of collapse isn't just unusual, it's unprecedented. Even ticket sales fell off a cliff. Games that once went for hundreds of dollars crashed overnight. Some Fever tickets that sold for $860 suddenly dropped to $250. The average ticket price for Clark's missed games plummeted from over $1,300 to just $80. And those games that were moved into bigger arenas to meet insane demand, they're now half empty, struggling to fill seats that would have been overflowing if Clark were playing. The harsh truth is unavoidable. The WNBA has become completely dependent on one player. Sports writer Christine Brennan summed it up best when she wrote, "One player gets injured and more than half the TV audience for the entire league disappears." She compared it to golf without Tiger Woods, or the NBA without Michael Jordan.
Now, I know a lot of us were expecting some sort of dip since Caitlin Clark has been out with injury, but I don't think all of us were expecting the entire viewership of the entire WNBA to be down. And this tweet from Christine Brennan really stuck out to me. She said, "One player gets injured and more than half the TV audience for the entire league disappears. Has any other athlete ever had that kind of impact on a sport? Golf without Tiger definitely dropped precipitously on occasion, but not like this. A truly remarkable sports story continues."
But here's the difference. Even Tiger and MJ never had this much sway over their entire sport. And yet, despite that level of importance, the league has done almost nothing to protect its biggest star. Clark has been the target of constant cheap shots, hard fouls, and physical intimidation. In fact, in 2024 alone, 5 of the WNBA's 30 egregious fouls happened against her, with the Chicago Sky responsible for a staggering 80% of those. Every time Clark steps on the court, it's like opponents see her as a trophy to knock down. If she reacts, she's criticized for being too combative. If she stays quiet, she's labeled as soft. The WNBA has created a no-win situation for the player who carries its future, and fans see it. That's why so many of them have decided to boycott the league altogether. Not just Fever games, but the WNBA as a whole. They don't want to reward a system that refuses to defend the very star they came to see. It's why that Sky vs. Liberty game looked more like a high school gym than a professional event. Empty rows of seats, silent crowds, and a commissioner forced to watch the ugly truth with her own eyes.
I get so frustrated as to why the media and the WNBA just mismanaged the situation the way that they did. Because I do actually think if just think in an alternate world, if last season all these new fans that came in, just think if they were welcomed into the league, if there wasn't people online, if there wasn't media personalities saying that Caitlin Clark fans are ruining the league, this was so much better without them. Like, think if that stuff wasn't happening. Think if the WNBA did a better job and put more resources into getting better referees and tightening up on the rules. Think if the WNBA put more resources into marketing players properly and not trying to put one player down in order to lift up other players. Like, if all of those things, if they were running like a business should be ran, just think of how much differently so many of these new fans who suck, how they would have felt about the WNBA. And like I said, a lot of these new fans not only love players now on the Indiana Fever, but they also love players on every single other team.
The consequences go far beyond attendance. The WNBA was already projected to lose $50 million this season, but with Clark missing games, those losses are ballooning. Merchandise sales have slowed, corporate sponsors are nervous, and the league's credibility is crumbling at the worst possible time. Because at the end of this season, the WNBA enters collective bargaining negotiations. Players are hoping for bigger contracts and more financial security. But how can you convince anyone to invest when your entire product collapses the second one rookie is injured? And here's where the embarrassment becomes a real disaster. Caitlin Clark isn't just a star, she's responsible for more than a quarter of all WNBA economic activity. She is the league's lifeline. And yet, instead of celebrating and protecting her, the WNBA has allowed jealousy and politics to dominate the conversation. Rather than uniting behind her, they've created an atmosphere where opponents foul her hard, officials look the other way, and leadership shrugs it off as just basketball. That kind of negligence doesn't just hurt Clark. It hurts every single player who dreams of bigger salaries, sold-out arenas, and national attention. Because as much as critics may not want to admit it, the league's fate is tied directly to her health and her presence on the court. And the moment she's sidelined, the whole house of cards comes crashing down. The moment the commissioner stormed out wasn't just a personal outburst, it was a symbol of everything wrong with the WNBA right now. Imagine being the leader of a professional league and walking into a game that should be a showcase, Sky versus Liberty, only to find just 200 fans scattered through the arena. That scene wasn't embarrassing because of the number. It was devastating because of what it represented. This is a league unraveling in real time. For years, WNBA executives have promised growth, sustainability, and momentum. But all it took was one player sitting on the sidelines for the illusion to collapse. The walkout showed the brutal reality. Without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA is back to square one. Empty arenas, weak ratings, vanishing sponsors. And here's the tragic part. None of this had to happen. When Clark entered the league, she wasn't arrogant. She was humble, focused on her teammates, and ready to help elevate women's basketball. The WNBA had the chance to protect her, celebrate her, and use her spotlight to grow the game for everyone. Instead, they let politics, jealousy, and neglect destroy the momentum. They built a house of cards, and now it's collapsing in front of the world. Fans aren't blind. They know what's happening. That's why so many are walking away. Why so many are boycotting. and why a commissioner storming out of an empty arena feels less like frustration and more like surrender. So here's the real question. Can the WNBA save itself before it's too late? Or has the league already squandered the greatest opportunity it ever had? Let us know what you think in the comments. And if you're still watching, drop 200 fans below so we know you're part of the real conversation.
Murphy's Law is once again in full effect for the Indiana Fever as Sophie Cunningham is ruled out for the rest of the season. So, what does this mean? They signed a new guard. Is Caitlin Clark ever coming back?
Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham just dropped a WNBA bombshell, and it's heartbreaking. Fans are stunned, analysts are furious, and the league is scrambling.
Today, this is what happens when you let dirty players play dirty. This is what happens when you fail to correct malicious behavior on the court, and a few weeks later, that player is over here taking out somebody's knees.
Because what these two stars, joined by Lexi Hull, revealed just moments ago isn't just another injury update. It's a direct challenge to the very league they carried on their shoulders. So here's the question. What exactly did they announce, and why do fans believe this moment could change women's basketball forever? Stay locked in, because we're about to break down the injuries, the silence, the betrayal, and the announcement that has the entire basketball world in shock. Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, Lexi Hull, three names that should have been celebrated as the future of women's basketball, instead became the center of a heartbreaking controversy. Caitlin Clark was supposed to be the WNBA's golden ticket, the rookie who turned every game into a national headline. But one brutal injury later, and her season was left hanging in the balance.
We don't know when they'll make it back to the floor. This honestly sucks. I waited all off season. You know what I mean? Like, KTV was ready to watch Caitlin Clark get busy this year, and now it's over already. We got 13 games of Caitlin Clark. This season has been a complete train wreck.
Fans prayed she'd recover quickly. Instead, what they saw was silence. Silence from the league, silence from officials, silence when it mattered most. Then there's Sophie Cunningham, the fiery veteran with unmatched passion, a player who never backed down from a challenge. But when her knee gave out in a devastating injury, fans were horrified. Some even whispered the unthinkable, that her career might never be the same. And once again, the WNBA had nothing to say.
So on August 17th, in the game, Bria Hartley fell to the outside of Sophie Cunningham's leg. Sophie fell down, screamed out in pain, and she had to be helped off the court. It was quite a scary moment because she was visibly in so much pain. So the first thought is that it's an ACL, and that would be a very bad thing. Luckily, it was not a torn ACL. It was a torn MCL, which is a ligament on the inside of the knee. It very often happens when a knee is like hyperextended or like hit from the side. And so the Indiana Fever did announce today that Sophie will be out for the rest of the season.
And finally, Lexi Hull. Tough as nails, always overlooked, but never afraid to put her body on the line. Her eye injury left fans sick to their stomachs. The footage was hard to watch. A hit so brutal that some feared she could have fractured her skull.
So lads, I'm making this video because I'm actually angry. I am fully angry at the coaching staff, at the training staff in the Indiana Fever. I am actually angry. And this isn't angry on a fan level. This is angry on a human level. Lexi Hull should not have been allowed in the game. This is scary. And for all of you guys being like, oh, there was no concussion, the doctors, the training staff, they did a check. I'm sorry, they probably put their hand in front of her face and she was able to follow it with her eyes.
Commentators demanded answers. Doctors were questioned. But the league, they looked the other way. 3 players, 3 broken bodies. and not a single word of accountability from the WNBA.
She's injured too. Many believe that their injuries are a result of dirty play. Throughout the season, fans and WNBA players, they have been begging the league to crack down on dirty players. But the diva of Dump Divas, Kat Engelbert, she is either incapable or she is unwilling to protect her star players. And Uncle KC is having a very hard time understanding why.
Imagine giving your blood, sweat, and heart to the game, only to be treated like you don't matter. That's how these women felt. They weren't just athletes. They were the faces of hope, the stars carrying the league's future. And when they needed support most, they were abandoned.
If you're the WNBA, common sense would dictate that you do everything in your power to protect your star players. You do everything you can to protect your assets. But for some reason, this dump of a league seems to protect anonymous faces over the pretty faces. They protect the players who are injuring the players that people are paying to see.
The frustration didn't just sit quietly behind the scenes. It built. It grew. Until finally, minutes ago, it exploded into the open. Sophie Cunningham, Caitlin Clark, Lexi Hull, 3 voices, 1 united announcement, and it shook the league to its core. They didn't hold back. They called out the WNBA's silence. They exposed what it feels like to be treated as disposable. And they declared, "We will not stay silent anymore." The internet erupted. Fans couldn't believe what they were hearing. Hashtags like Justice for Caitlin and Stand with Sophie started trending immediately. Comment sections flooded with outrage. People weren't just upset. They were furious. Sports analysts went off. Stephen A. Smith didn't mince words. He said, "If the WNBA wants respect, it starts with respecting its stars." Period.
I'm not going to ignore, nor am I going to take my eyes off of what transpires with the WNBA over the next 2 weeks while Caitlin Clark is out with the quad strain. And the reason why is because, let me tell you something right now. I'm not going to go to word hate. I'm not going to be out there like RG3 was saying that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark or other players hate Caitlin Clark. But I will say this. I don't think it's specific about Caitlin Clark. I think it's what Caitlin Clark represents. See, it's no fault of Caitlin Clark. Ended up as an all-star, ended up being 4th in the league in MVP voting, was the clear winner for Rookie of the Year. No competition whatsoever in that regard. When it was really all said and done, we know what she brings to the table. But people wanted to hate because why? You had a bunch of players in this league that watched this young white girl come along and take the league by storm. And they resented it because they saw the marketing prowess that she had.
Even rival players joined in, quietly liking posts, dropping subtle messages of support, making it clear that this wasn't just about 3 women. This was about everyone in the league who felt ignored, undervalued, and unprotected. And the fans, they were heartbroken. They felt scammed, lied to, and used. They tuned in night after night to watch these stars shine, only to learn that behind the scenes, their well-being didn't seem to matter. Think about the contrast here. On one hand, Caitlin Clark had been hailed as the savior of the WNBA, the face of a new era. On the other, when her rookie season was derailed by injury, she was left to fight alone. Sophie Cunningham was praised for her toughness, her grit, her ability to inspire a team. But when her knee buckled and her career was in jeopardy, the league didn't even flinch. Lexi Hull played through pain that would sideline most athletes. Her eyes swollen, her face battered, her body screaming to stop. But instead of being protected, she was tossed back into the fire. And that's what made this announcement hit so hard. It wasn't just about injuries. It was about respect, about dignity, about the simple truth that these women are more than just dollar signs. The WNBA never wanted this story told, but now it's out. And the league can't hide from it anymore. This is where everything reaches a breaking point. The announcement wasn't just a press release. It was a declaration of war, a player versus league showdown unlike anything the WNBA has faced before. And the questions started pouring in immediately. Would Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, and Lexi Hull walk away from the WNBA entirely? Would they demand sweeping reforms before ever stepping back on the court? Or would this moment spiral into the biggest player rebellion women's basketball has ever seen? Fans don't know the answer yet, but they do know one thing. The silence is over. The heartbreak of Clark's injury, the devastation of Cunningham's knee, the trauma of Hull's eye. Each moment revealed the same painful truth. The league failed to protect its stars, and now those stars are refusing to be quiet about it. Think about the weight of this. Caitlin Clark was supposed to inspire millions with her rookie season. Instead, her defining moment may now be standing up against the league that failed her. Sophie Cunningham was admired for her grit, and that grit is now fueling her fight for change. And Lexi Hull? Her resilience has become a symbol for every overlooked player who deserved more respect. This isn't just about 3 athletes anymore. This is about the future of women's basketball. And make no mistake, this moment has already changed everything. Fans are demanding answers. The media is locked in. Analysts are calling it the league's biggest crisis yet. And with players uniting, the WNBA can't stay silent forever. So here's the bottom line. Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham didn't just drop a bombshell, they lit a fire. And whether that fire forces change or burns the league from the inside out, depends on what happens next. If you believe these women deserve justice, drop justice for Caitlin, Sophie, and Lexi in the comments right now. Let the league know the fans are watching, because the next chapter in this story could decide the fate of the WNBA itself.
What you gonna do without the great white hope? With them ratings getting low, cat, I really need to know. And how you gonna act? How you gonna handle that? What you gonna do when Caitlin don't come back? A song, a remix that perfectly encapsulates what's going on right now in the WNBA dump.
The 2025 WNBA awards are about to cause chaos, and the MVP race may deliver the biggest snub in league history.
5 WNBA MVP odds have just been released. A'ja Wilson at 1, Caitlin Clark at 2, Breanna Stewart at 3, and Napheesa Collier 4.
Fans are already buzzing, players are campaigning, and the numbers. They tell a story that's anything but clear. Today, we're breaking down every award, MVP, Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year, and more to show you exactly why these predictions will shock you. So who's really walking away with the league's biggest honors?
People were actually willing to spend money to watch the WNBA. Previously unknown players, they had the chance to become stars if they were willing to let the real star take the lead and benefit from the spotlight that she was providing. Unfortunately, that was not the case. Instead of allowing Caitlin Clark to elevate the league, WNBA players were overtaken with powerful feelings of jealousy. They resented her. They wanted her to go away.
Let's find out. The Most Valuable Player award is always dramatic, but this season, it's a battlefield. Let's start with Napheesa Collier.
If the Lynx win through, I don't see Fee not winning MVP. However, it's MVP is a lot about what you've done lately. And ironically, I think in the same way that I thought Fee should have been the MVP last year, I also think A'ja should win it by this, because A'ja's had a much better second half of the season. The only thing is that Fee Collier did not lose any games by 53 points.
Minnesota's star forward exploded out of the gates, leading her team to a 9-0 start and delivering consistent two-way dominance. She racked up 15 games of 20 or more points, locked down opponents with 13 games of at least 2 steals, and even had multiple 3-block nights. At the halfway point of the season, Collier looked like the frontrunner, but then A'ja Wilson happened. The reigning MVP didn't just close the gap, she blew it open.
The Lynx have played the Aces. Fee has 1,000,000% gotten the better of has gotten the better more often than not of A'ja Wilson. However, yesterday A'ja Wilson had 31 points on 15 shots and missed 3. Fee had 12 points on 13 shots and was minus 13 in a 10-point loss. I understand Fee was pulled early. I understand that this was game 7 of the finals for the Aces, and this was just another Thursday for the Lynx.
Wilson leads the WNBA in both points and blocks per game, fueling Las Vegas through a 14-game win streak, and she set a WNBA record with 13 30-point games in a single season. That's dominance on a level we haven't seen before. And if you thought this was just a 2-player race, think again. Alyssa Thomas of the Phoenix Mercury is averaging nearly a triple-double.
Alyssa Thomas is going to be starting our all-defensive team. She is a good defender. She's very close to averaging that elusive triple-single. She's probably the best. In my opinion, the second best defender on the best defensive team. She's kind of their defensive anchor, and she's just very, very good on that end of the floor. Offensively, I think she's a liability. I don't rate her as high as a player as a lot of people do, but I mean, a lot of people rate her very, very highly that know a lot about the sport, so I'm probably wrong on this one.
She broke her own record for triple-doubles in a season and surpassed Caitlin Clark's all-time assist record. She's top 6 in assists, rebounds, and steals. Numbers like that are almost unheard of. Here's the question. With Wilson smashing records, Collier elevating her team, and Thomas rewriting history, who's getting the MVP crown? And who's getting snubbed? If you thought MVP was messy, wait until you hear about Defensive Player of the Year. Collier, Thomas, and Wilson are all in the mix again. Collier is the reigning winner. Thomas anchors Phoenix's gritty defense, and Wilson blocks everything in sight. Each of them ranks top 20 in defensive win shares, proving they're carrying their teams on that end. But there's a twist. Minnesota's Alana Smith has quietly been the defensive engine behind the Lynx.
Smith again. Somebody's got to cool her off. She is in double figures beside Smith again, and she is just killing Seattle. Great point. And Smith for a career high, and she's got it.
She's third in blocks, adds more than a steal per game, and her impact doesn't always show up on the stat sheet. When Collier went down with an ankle injury, it was Smith who kept the Lynx's defense #1 in the league. So who takes it? The superstar names voters can't ignore, or the underrated anchor who deserves her flowers. This one might be too close to call, and fans are already bracing for controversy. Now let's talk about the award that celebrates growth. Most Improved Player. Golden State Valkyries guard Veronica Burton is the runaway choice.
Back Bentley offensive rebound. Burton, the dagger!
Before this season, she was a role player, averaging just 2.7 points. This year, she's exploded to 12 points per game, leading the expansion Valkyries in scoring, assists, steals, and even blocks. She's 5th in the WNBA in assists and has carried Golden State to the playoffs after their lone all-star went down with an injury. Burton didn't just improve, she transformed into the heartbeat of an entire franchise. That's the kind of leap that changes careers forever. And then there's the 6th Player of the Year award, and it's a dogfight. Atlanta's Naz Hillman and Minnesota's Natisha Hiedemann have been trading blows all season. Hillman is averaging career highs across the board, rebounding at an elite level, and finally showing her offensive growth. But Hiedemann has been on fire lately, dropping 22 points per game in her last 3 outings. Right now, Hillman seems to have the edge. But with numbers this close, don't be shocked if the voters go the other way. Now let's get to the award everyone's been waiting for, Rookie of the Year. Dallas Wings star Paige Bueckers entered the league with sky-high expectations, and somehow, she's exceeded them.
Cunningham, aggressive. The 28-year-old in her 7th year out of Missouri.
Yeah.
And from the outside, counted.
Paige Bueckers, the most proficient shooters from three-point land, and nice pickup by Stephanie White.
As you mentioned, 27 last game. Seconds left to play in the half. Bueckers in traffic, backs up. Does it go? Oh my goodness.
Despite missing 8 games with injury, she's still ranked 5th in the WNBA in scoring, 8th in assists, and 5th in steals. She's the only player in the entire league to rank top 10 in all 3 categories. And she's not just putting up numbers, she's making history. Buchers became the first rookie ever to score 40 points on 80% shooting. She broke multiple rookie scoring records and won Rookie of the Month 3 times in a row. Yes, Sonia Citron and Kiki Iriafen have been impressive for the Mystics. But this isn't just a Rookie of the Year campaign. Buchers already looks like one of the best guards in the league. That's not hype, that's reality. Finally, the coaches. Golden State Valkyries head coach Natalie Nakase has done something we've never seen before. She led an expansion team to 23 wins and a playoff berth in year 1. No superstar, no stacked roster, just pure coaching. That's history. But Atlanta Dream head coach Carl Smesko has his own case. He took a team that won 15 games last season and turned them into a 29-win powerhouse. The Dream had 3 All-Stars and smashed the franchise record for wins. That's the kind of turnaround that cements a coach's legacy. So who takes it? The expansion miracle worker or the architect of a historic rebuild? Either way, this is one of the most fascinating Coach of the Year races in WNBA history. And here we are. With every award up for grabs, fans are bracing for fireworks. MVP could see a historic snub. Defensive Player of the Year is a coin flip. Most Improved in 6 player come with breakout drama. Paige Buchers is rewriting rookie history, and the coaching race might be the hardest of all. So here's the bold prediction. MVP, Aja Wilson. Defensive Player, too close to call. Most Improved, Veronica Burton. 6th player, Naz Hillman. Rookie of the Year, Paige Buchers. Coach of the Year, Natalie Nakase. If these predictions hold, the WNBA awards won't just shock fans, they'll break the internet. So what do you think? Who's getting snubbed and who deserves the crown? Drop your thoughts below, and if you're still watching, type MVP snubbed in the comments so I know you made it to the end. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss the biggest stories in women's basketball.